Brandon Hughes decided I was worth $9,500 on Christmas week. That single decision ended a career he'd spent 12 years building and nearly killed 190 people. My name is Wesley Parker. I'm 47 years old, and I've been keeping cooling systems from failing at Great Lakes Manufacturing for 20 years. Some people think maintenance engineering is just fixing things when they break. For me, it's about knowing which valve prevents a meltdown and which one turns your workplace into tomorrow's headline. That December morning started like any other until Brandon walked into the conference room carrying his tablet and wearing that smile he got when he thought he was about to make everyone's day. The whole management team was there, about 18 of us who actually kept the automotive parts plant running while executives made PowerPoint presentations about our work. Everyone gets a year-end bonus, Brandon announced, tapping his screen like he was checking stock prices. We want to thank you for another profitable year. Record profits. In fact, the conference room had that expectant quiet you get when people are about to find out if their vacation plans are getting upgraded or canceled. I'd been through this routine 19 times before. Usually pretty straightforward, solid bonuses for solid work. Logan Bennett got called first. $24,000. Logan handled day shift coordination and had been here 12 years. Good guy, did his job well. The table gave him a round of applause. Rachel Thompson came next, $24,000. Rachel supervised production scheduling, been here 8 years, worked her way up from the floor. More clapping. Justin Miller, $24,000. Quality control, 6 years on the job. I started doing the math in my head. 3 people, same amount. That was usually how it worked. Management tier got consistent numbers. With my 20 years in senior technical role, I figured I was looking at $24,000, maybe more. Casey Adams from safety, $24,000. Nicole Foster from HR, $24,000. Even the new kid who'd started in October got $18,000. 8 people called so far, all in the expected range. Then Brandon looked at his tablet, paused for what felt like forever, and said, Wesley Parker, $9,500. The room went dead silent. Not the polite quiet when someone's having trouble with the projector. The kind of silence that happens when everyone realizes someone just got slapped in the face, but nobody wants to be the first to acknowledge it. Logan looked at me, then quickly looked away. Rachel studied her coffee cup like it contained the secrets of the universe. The new kid shifted in his seat. Brandon just kept reading names like nothing had happened. Nicole Foster from compliance, $24,000. Stephen Hayes from procurement, $24,000. Even Michelle Clark, who'd been hired 6 months ago to handle vendor relations, got $22,000. I sat there calculating everyone else was getting 24 grand or close to it. I got less than half. After 20 years of keeping this place from burning down, they valued my work at 40 cents on the dollar compared to people who'd been here a fraction of the time. The meeting wrapped up with Brandon's usual speech about teamwork and looking forward to another great year. People filed out chatting about their bonus plans. Nobody made eye contact with me. I waited until the conference room emptied before I caught Brandon in the hallway. He was walking fast, the way people do when they're hoping to avoid conversations they don't want to have. Brandon, I said, keeping pace with him, can I ask why mine's different? He didn't stop walking. Different how? Everyone got something. Everyone else got $24,000 or close to it. I got $9,520. He finally stopped and turned around. Irritation was already showing on his face, that look he got when he thought people were questioning his MBA judgment. You're plateaued, Wesley. This investment is for people with growth potential. Plateaued, like 20 years of keeping the place from turning into a smoking crater, was some kind of dead-end job. Like preventing disasters was less valuable than scheduling meetings and updating spreadsheets. I manage the cooling systems that keep this place from overheating into a disaster, I said, keeping my voice level. When those systems start to fail, I'm the one who knows which compressor to cycle and which one will fry everything if you touch it wrong. He cut me off before I could finish. You're 47 years old, Wesley. How much growth are we talking about here? Be grateful you're still relevant. Still relevant. Like my 20 years of experience was some kind of charity case the company was doing me. Like they were being generous by letting me prevent their equipment from exploding. I didn't argue with him. I've learned over the years that arguing with people like Brandon just gives them more reasons to dismiss you. They've already made up their minds about what you're worth. All you can do is prove them right or prove them wrong. I went back to my desk, packed up my tools, and drove home thinking about that word. Relevant that evening, I called my ex-wife to tell her about the bonus situation. She needed to know because I help with our son's college expenses, and $14,500 less than expected was going to hurt. We'd budgeted based on previous years, and this was going to mess up his spring semester plans. That's ridiculous. She said when I explained what happened, "You've been there longer than anyone." "Apparently that's the problem," I said. "What do you mean?" "I mean they think I'm too old to grow, too set in my ways to be worth investing in." Brandon made it pretty clear that my experience doesn't count for much anymore. She was quiet for a moment. "What are you going to do?" Good question. What was I going to do? The bonus agreement showed up in my email the next morning, flagged as time-sensitive. I opened it over my coffee, expecting the usual legal language about gratitude and company appreciation. Most years, it was just a formality. Sign here, get your money. Everyone's happy. The first page was standard stuff. Thank you for your dedication, recognition of your contributions, commitment to excellence. The kind of corporate speak that sounds nice, but doesn't mean much. But halfway down page 2, I found what they really wanted from me. Recipient agrees to maintain full availability for emergency response outside standard working hours, as required by operational needs. I read that clause 3 times to make sure I wasn't missing something. Unlimited availability for emergency response. No mention of decision authority. No mention of additional compensation. No mention of limits on what constituted an emergency or how often they could call. Just a promise to drop everything and come running whenever they decided they needed me, for $9,500 minus taxes. The more I thought about it, the more it bothered me. They wanted me available 24/7 for emergencies, but they'd just finished telling me I wasn't worth investing in. They wanted my expertise when things went wrong, but not my input when I could prevent things from going wrong in the first place. I forwarded the document to HR with a simple question. "Can we discuss these terms before I sign?" Nicole Foster replied within 2 hours. "Amount and conditions are standard and non-negotiable, standard and non-negotiable. So let me make sure I understand this correctly," I typed back. "For $9,500 after taxes, I'm committing to unlimited emergency availability for systems I already know better than anyone else in this building, with no authority to actually make decisions when those emergencies happen." Her response was immediate. "This agreement reflects your current role and responsibilities." Current role and responsibilities. The same role where I'd prevented 4 major system failures in the past 3 years. The same responsibilities that had kept the plant running when other people's cost-cutting decisions nearly shut us down. But apparently those same responsibilities were only worth 40% of what everyone else was getting. I sat back in my chair and did something I hadn't done in 20 years of working at Great Lakes Manufacturing. I thought about what would happen if I just did exactly what they were paying me to do. Nothing more, nothing less. For 2 decades, I'd been the guy who stayed late to catch problems before they became emergencies. The guy who came in on weekends to double-check system readings. The guy who did whatever it took to keep the plant safe, whether it was officially part of my job or not. I'd done it because I believed my work mattered, because I thought the company valued what I brought to the table. Now they'd made it clear exactly how much they valued it. I typed one word back to Nicole. Understood. Then I closed my email and made a decision that would change everything. The change didn't happen overnight. It started small. For the first time in years, when my shift ended at 3:30, I packed up my tools and left at 3:30. No hanging around to check the evening handoff reports. No staying late to verify that day shift had properly documented the system readings. No weekend visits to make sure everything was running smoothly. It didn't take long for people to notice. Logan Bennett rolled his chair over to my workstation the first week of January. "You leaving right at shift change now?" he asked. "That's when my shift ends," I said, packing up my laptop. "Usually you stick around to verify the handoff reports with evening shift. Evening shift can verify their own reports. That's what they get paid for." Logan looked at me carefully. We'd worked together for 12 years, and he knew I wasn't the type to slack off or leave things half-finished. Everything okay. Everything's fine. I'm just being more disciplined about my role boundaries. Role boundaries. That was corporate speak for doing exactly what they're paying me to do and not one bit more. If they wanted someone who worked beyond their job description, they should have paid for it. The first real problems started showing up 3 weeks later. Unit 12 was one of our older cooling systems, installed back in 2003 and upgraded twice since then. The thermal management was solid overall, but it required careful monitoring because the load dynamics were more complex than the newer units we'd installed over the past few years. I noticed the drift on a Tuesday morning in late January. Small temperature variations that wouldn't trip any automatic alarms, but showed a pattern I'd seen before. The cooling coils were degrading faster than the scheduled maintenance anticipated, and if the trend continued, we were looking at a potential failure within the next few weeks. In the old days, meaning 4 weeks ago, I would have called the maintenance supervisor directly and scheduled an immediate inspection. We would have done a controlled shutdown during the weekend, replaced the degraded components, and been back online Monday morning with no one outside our department even knowing there had been an issue. Instead, I documented the readings in detail and filed a standard maintenance report through the proper channels. I included historical data showing similar patterns, technical specifications for the affected components, and my recommended timeline for corrective action. Then I submitted it to my immediate supervisor and went back to monitoring my assigned systems. The report went to Rachel Thompson, who'd been promoted to operations management 3 years ago after working her way up from production scheduling. Rachel was smart and hardworking, but her background was in logistics and workflow optimization. She didn't have the technical experience to evaluate complex HVAC system warnings, which wasn't really her fault. That's why they were supposed to have people like me. Her response came back the next day. Corporate engineering reviewed your report. They determined the temperature variations are within acceptable parameters. Production will continue as scheduled. Corporate engineering. That was the team of younger engineers who worked regular 8-hour shifts and dealt with problems using computer models and theoretical calculations. They were good at their jobs, and I'm sure their analysis was thorough based on the data they had access to. But there's a difference between understanding systems on paper and understanding them after 20 years of watching them actually operate under real-world conditions. I picked up the phone and called Rachel directly. "Rachel," I said when she picked up, "I've seen this exact temperature pattern before. It led to a cascade failure in Unit 8 back in 2019. Wesley, I appreciate your experience, but corporate engineering has all the same data you do. They analyzed it thoroughly using the latest diagnostic software. Corporate engineering doesn't understand how these older cooling systems work together. They're analyzing Unit 12 like it's an independent system, but it's not. It's part of an integrated network. That's the standard approach now. Everything is compartmentalized for safety. Each system has its own backup protocols, compartmentalized for safety, like heat transfer and thermal load distribution, cared about organizational charts and safety protocols. Rachel, these units are thermally connected through the main distribution lines. When one starts having cooling issues, it affects the load balance across the entire network. You can't analyze them in isolation because they don't operate in isolation." Her voice got that careful tone people use when they think you're being difficult, but they're trying to stay professional about it. "Wesley, I understand you have a lot of experience with these systems, but we need to trust the team approach here. Corporate engineering makes the technical decisions, and they've determined there's no immediate risk. The team approach, code for your 20 years of hands-on experience, doesn't matter because you're not in the right meetings with the right credentials. I'd seen this before. Younger engineers with computer models and fresh degrees trumping guys like me who'd actually lived through system failures. They had theoretical knowledge. I had scars from when theory met reality and reality won. Rachel, I was here in 2019 when Unit 8 overheated. I was here in 2021 when we nearly lost the entire north wing to a cooling cascade failure. I've seen what happens when we ignore early warning signs because the computer models say everything looks fine. That was different equipment," she said. "Same physics," I replied. "Heat doesn't care how new your computer models are." After we hung up, I updated my documentation and sent another report. This time I included detailed historical data from the 2019 incident, showing the identical temperature progression patterns and timing intervals. I referenced the post-incident analysis that had recommended enhanced monitoring for exactly these types of early warning signs. I copied Brandon directly on the email. His response came back in 8 minutes. Unit 12 is performing within acceptable parameters per engineering analysis. Focus on your assigned monitoring duties. My assigned monitoring duties, like Unit 12, wasn't connected to every other cooling line in the complex. Like monitoring meant just watching numbers on a screen, instead of understanding what those numbers actually meant for system integrity. Logan came by my workstation that afternoon. He'd been watching the same temperature readings I was tracking, and he knew enough about the systems to recognize when something wasn't right. "You see those temperature spikes in Unit 12? he asked quietly, glancing around to make sure nobody else was listening. I've been documenting them for 2 weeks. Day shift said it was nothing. Day shift doesn't want to hear about problems they can't fix in 8 hours. Problems that require actual shutdowns and real maintenance cost money and disrupt production schedules. Logan nodded slowly. He'd been around long enough to understand the politics. Off the record, he said, lowering his voice even more. If those coils fail during a heat event, you're the only one here who knows the emergency shutdown sequence for the integrated system. I looked at him. Logan was good at his job and smart enough to understand the technical implications, but he was also political enough to know when conversations needed to stay private. That's not something to say casually, I said. I know. That's why I'm saying it to you. That night, I went home and thought about Logan's words. In 20 years at Great Lakes Manufacturing, I'd prevented 4 major incidents that could have killed people. Each time I'd acted on technical knowledge that wasn't in any manual and made decisions I wasn't technically authorized to make, but I'd also been valued then. My expertise had been respected. Management had trusted my judgment enough to give me the authority to act when action was needed. Now they wanted me available for emergencies, but not empowered to prevent them. The temperature readings got worse over the next week, not dramatically, nothing that would trigger the automatic alarm systems, but following the exact pattern I'd seen lead to failures before. Each day I documented the progression. Each day I filed reports through the proper channels, including increasingly detailed technical analysis and historical comparisons. And each day those reports got dismissed by people who'd never seen a cooling system actually fail. Corporate engineering kept responding with the same analysis. Temperature variations within acceptable parameters, system redundancies adequate, no immediate action required. Continue normal operations, but I knew what I was seeing. Unit 12 was dying slowly, and when it finally gave up, it was going to take other systems down with it. The final warnings started flashing on a Tuesday morning in February. Still not full red alarms, just yellow status indicators that meant the system was working harder than it should have to. I pulled up the historical data from 2019 and laid it side by side with the current readings. Identical progression. Same temperature curves, same load variations, same timing intervals, like watching a rerun of a disaster movie where you already know how it ends. I called Brandon directly this time. No more reports through channels. No more waiting for Rachel to forward my concerns to people who didn't understand them. Brandon, I said when he answered, Unit 12 is approaching critical threshold. We need a controlled shutdown within the next 4 hours. Based on what? He asked. Based on 20 years of watching these systems fail. Wesley, I need data, not hunches. I've been providing data for 3 weeks. Every report I've filed shows the same progression toward failure. There was a pause on his end. Corporate engineering reviewed all your reports. They don't see any immediate risk. Corporate engineering is reading the wrong metrics. They're treating this like an isolated unit failure, but it's not. When Unit 12 goes down, it's going to create thermal load redistribution across the entire network. Another pause. Submit your concerns through proper channels. If engineering agrees with your assessment, we'll consider emergency action, proper channels, the same people who'd been dismissing my warnings for 3 weeks.
Brandon, we don't have time for proper channels.
In 4 hours, those yellow warnings are going to turn red, and when they do, you're going to find out exactly how much my 20 years of experience is really worth. I hung up and stared at my monitors. The temperature readings were climbing steadily toward the red zone, following the same inevitable pattern I'd seen before. In a few hours, those yellow indicators would turn red. Alarms would start blaring, and everyone would suddenly want to know why nobody had seen this coming. The first real alarm hit at 1:23 p.m., not a yellow warning this time, a red alert that meant Unit 12's cooling capacity was approaching its design limits. The alarm system sent automatic notifications to every supervisor in the plant, and suddenly my phone started lighting up like a Christmas tree. Brandon called first. This time his voice was different, tighter, more focused, with that edge people get when they realize something might actually be going wrong. Wesley, we're seeing critical alerts on Unit 12. I need you to take a look and tell me what you think. What I think, I said, pulling up the real-time displays on my screen, is that this is the beginning of the cascade failure I've been warning you about for 3 weeks. Can you stabilize it remotely? Not without full shutdown authority for the integrated system, and not without taking Units 9 and 11 offline as backup protection. There was a pause on his end. That would mean shutting down $1.5 million worth of daily production. Wesley, if this goes critical, we're looking at serious damage, environmental cleanup, regulatory fines, potential safety issues. Just see what you can do within normal parameters. See what I could do within normal parameters. After 3 weeks of telling me to stay within normal parameters while the system marched steadily toward failure. Brandon, I've been documenting this progression for 3 weeks, I said. Every single recommendation I've made has been dismissed by corporate engineering. Now you want me to prevent the disaster I told you was coming. Wesley, this isn't the time this is exactly the time, I said. You've had 3 weeks to authorize preventive action. You chose not to. I hung up and sat back in my chair. Logan had moved his workstation closer to mine, watching the temperature displays over my shoulder. They want you to jump in, he asked quietly. They want me to fix what they refuse to prevent. Can you? I looked at the temperature readings climbing steadily into the red zone. Maybe if I override 4 safety protocols and shut down a third of the complex without authorization. But that's a career-ending move. If you're wrong, it's a career-ending move if I'm right too. Because tomorrow they'll ask why I didn't follow proper channels. My phone was buzzing constantly now. Text messages from Rachel Thompson. Missed calls from operations managers I'd never spoken to before. Voicemails from executives who normally communicated through 3 layers of subordinates. At 1:45, the temperature alarms went critical. Unit 12's cooling system was failing exactly the way I'd predicted, following the same pattern I'd documented from the 2019 incident. But this time was different. This time, management had 3 weeks of warnings that they'd chosen to ignore. Logan pointed at his screen. They're trying manual temperature control on Unit 12. I watched the readouts. Corporate engineering was attempting to stabilize the system by increasing coolant flow through the primary coils. It was textbook procedure for an isolated unit failure, exactly what their computer models would recommend. That's going to make it worse, I said. Why? Because Unit 12 isn't failing in isolation. The thermal differential they're creating will force Units 9 and 11 to compensate. That's what triggers the cascade. On the emergency communication channel, voices started overlapping. Unit 9 showing anomalous readings. Unit 11 temperature climbing faster than normal. Why are we getting heat warnings on the distribution lines? Someone I didn't recognize came on the channel. Get Wesley Parker on this call immediately. My phone rang again. Brandon again. I looked at his name on the screen. Then I thought about the bonus meeting. About being told I was plateaued. About being told to be grateful for relevance. About 3 weeks of warnings being dismissed because corporate engineering had computer models that said everything was fine. I declined the call. Logan stared at me. Wesley, I'm doing exactly what my role requires. I said, I'm monitoring the systems. I'm documenting the events. I'm filing reports through proper channels. You're not intervening. I don't have authority to intervene. Brandon made that very clear. The next 25 minutes played out like a slow-motion disaster movie where everyone knows how it ends except the people who could stop it. Unit 12's temperature control efforts created exactly the cascade effect I'd predicted. The automated safety systems, designed for single-unit failures, couldn't handle the simultaneous thermal load across multiple cooling zones. At 2:12, Unit 12's primary cooling coil failed. Not explosively. These systems were engineered to fail safely, but catastrophically enough to force an emergency lockdown of the entire North complex. The cascade spread faster than corporate engineering's computer models had predicted. Units 9 and 11 went into emergency shutdown, but the interconnected cooling lines couldn't handle the sudden thermal redistribution. Secondary failures triggered tertiary alarms, and within 12 minutes, the entire production facility was in emergency lockdown mode. The evacuation alarm started at 2:24 p.m., not the kind of alarm that meant everyone should be alert, the kind that meant everyone should get out of the building immediately. 190 people evacuated from the North complex, another 14 from adjacent buildings as a precautionary measure. Fire trucks, hazmat teams, regulatory investigators, the kind of response you get when a major manufacturing plant has what the newspapers would call a significant industrial incident. My phone kept ringing. Brandon, Rachel, people from corporate I'd never heard of. I didn't answer any of them. I sat at my desk, documenting the timeline, filing incident reports, doing exactly what my $9,500 bonus had purchased. By 400, the immediate danger was over. The facility was shut down, the cooling systems were isolated, and nobody was hurt. but the damage was extensive. 5 major production units offline indefinitely. Environmental containment systems triggered across 8 separate zones. Cleanup crews staging equipment for what looked like a 4-month recovery operation. Logan came back to our workstations after the all-clear announcement. "Preliminary damage estimates are coming in," he said quietly. "How bad?" "Bad. They're saying $65 million in direct damage, plus another $40 million in lost production if we're down for 4 months. And that's before the regulatory fines." I saved my incident documentation and closed my laptop. 20 years of preventing disasters, and the one time I let one happen, it cost more than my entire career's worth of salaries. "You going home?" Logan asked. "My shift ended 3 hours ago," I said. As I walked to my truck, emergency vehicles were still arriving. The kind of response that makes the evening news and puts companies on regulatory watch lists. I drove home knowing that tomorrow was going to be very different than today. Not because I'd done anything wrong, but because I'd finally done exactly what they'd been paying me to do. Nothing more, nothing less. The hardest lesson in business is learning that saving money in the wrong places costs everything. Brandon saved $14,500 on my bonus and lost $245 million and $330 jobs and his career. Sometimes the most expensive decision you can make is the one that looks cheapest on paper. When you tell someone with decades of expertise that they're plateaued and should be grateful to stay relevant, you're not just cutting their bonus, you're cutting the invisible threads that hold your operation together. Experience doesn't become worthless at 47, minus it becomes dangerous when disrespected, because the person who knows how to prevent disasters also knows exactly what happens when they don't.